Hi, boys and girls. I'm going to be reading the electronic copy of your textbook. You can't really follow along with me in your book, but you can listen. I'm going to be reading these pages right here. So, I might want to zoom in a little bit. Here we go. The Punic Wars. So remember, we're working on main idea and details. So as I'm reading, be sure that you are listening for what is the main idea of this page and maybe some supporting details to jot down. Here we go. The Punic Wars. Imagine you are a soldier in the Roman army. Your army is called the Roman Legion, and you are a legionary. You are wearing heavy, thick armor and a helmet with flaps to protect your head and face during fights. If you are one of Rome's finest soldiers, you are wearing a helmet with a furry strip on top. Besides your armor, you have a shield, a spear, and a short sword. You have learned to march in perfect step with hundreds of other legionaries. You have faced many enemies in battle, and you are preparing to fight for Rome. Since the founding of the Roman Republic, you and other legionaries have proudly fought to expand Rome's power and influence. Okay, I'm thinking that this page was all about the Roman legionary. I can even see the word legionary down here as a caption for this photo. So I'm going to go to my page now, and I think I'm going to add a main idea of legionaries fought, fought to expand Rome's, whoops, I think I spelled that wrong. Expand Rome's power. Okay, that sounds good. Now I'll get back to the reading. So now I'm going to focus on this page right here. I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to think about what's the main idea and any details. Okay, here I go. Rome is no longer just a city. Through the years, it has expanded to include the majority of the area known as present-day Italy. Dozens of kingdoms and other areas have been absorbed by the Roman Republic. Some have resisted and fought Rome's growing power, only to fall before the mighty Roman legion. Other kings have accepted Roman rule and have become wealthy patrician citizens. Now you are preparing to fight a new enemy. This enemy is not an old king desperately clinging to an old way of life. This enemy comes from across the Mediterranean. They are called the Carthaginians, and their goal is to destroy Rome itself. The Carthaginians, or people of Carthage, are from North Africa. There they have built a vast civilization, even larger and richer than the Roman Republic. Okay, well, I just read about how Rome is no longer a city, and it's preparing to fight a new enemy. I better write that down in my notes. So now I'm going to write down Rome is no longer a city, and it, I'm going to make this smaller and not go into the next column, and it is preparing to fight the Carthaginians. I think this is an A here. Carthaginians. Okay. Oh, and I could say where they're from. From North Africa. Okay, let's go back to our reading. Oops. Okay, now this page, I'm going to concentrate on a main idea there. Carthage is the trading center of the known world. By land and by sea, most traded goods from the exotic or unfamiliar lands to the east, Mesopotamia, Persia, India, pass through Carthaginian territory on their way to Rome or wherever else they may be headed. Perhaps a conflict between the powers of Rome and Carthage are unavoidable. Two growing civilizations may only share the same sea and land for so long. As Rome has expanded through Italy, Carthage has expanded through North Africa and across the sea to present-day Spain. This rivalry between the two expanding civilizations has led to several battles which have become known as the Punic Wars. Oh, and there's the city of Carthage. Okay, so Carthage and Rome are fighting because they're growing civilizations. Why don't you pause the video and you can write that down in your notes. They're fighting because they are two growing civilizations. Okay, let's read the next page. I'm going to focus on page 35 here. Imagine you and your legion are preparing for a battle with the Carthaginians. You are practicing a formation called the testudo, or turtle. Oh, I can see why they call it a turtle. You and your fellow legionaries gather closely and lock your shields together. Hopefully, this will give you some protection from the hundreds of Carthaginian arrows that are sure to come your way in battle. You have not had much time to prepare. 2 days ago, you and your legion were preparing to be shipped off to fight on the island of Sicily, just off the shores of Italy, which the Carthaginians are trying to claim as their own. Then, out of nowhere, your general announced that a mighty army was invading Rome from the north, something you and your fellow soldiers believed to be impossible. So, let's see. You're getting ready to fight in Sicily, but then the Carthaginians attack from the north. Okay, why don't you pause the video and add those notes to your column about the Punic Wars. Okay, let's look at this page. This one has 2 paragraphs. Here I go. This mighty invading army of soldiers from Carthage is led by a general named Hannibal. Hannibal and his troops are coming from Spain. In order to invade Italy from the north, Hannibal and his army would need to cross the Alps. These mountains stretch throughout northern Italy, and you and the other Romans have always felt safe, believing that no invading army could possibly cross these peaks. Oh, there's the peaks there. Yeah, that looks like it would be hard for an army to get across. I wonder how Hannibal did it. You and your fellow soldiers were wrong, and now you and the Roman legion must prepare to defend your homeland. So we're not going to Sicily anymore. Looks like we're going north. It is not going to be easy. You believe you are a better soldier than the Carthaginians, but you don't really know because you have never faced one in battle. You have no idea what this army from Carthage will look like, but you know they must be strong if they were able to climb Turn the page. Those mountains. You have heard rumors that, aside from many thousands of soldiers, the Carthaginians are bringing some kind of terrible monsters to the fight. Okay, we better stop there. So we read a paragraph about a general named Hannibal, and his troops are coming across the mountains of northern Italy, and nobody ever thought that could happen. Or at least the Romans didn't think anyone could attack them from the north. Okay. Now, you think you're better than the Carthaginians if you're a Roman soldier, okay, but you've never really faced one. And then this is interesting. You've heard rumors that aside from many thousand soldiers, the Carthaginians are bringing some kind of terrible monsters to the fight. Oh, look at the caption up here. Hannibal with elephants. I bet that's the terrible monsters that the Romans think are coming. They've never seen an elephant before. I guess it would be kind of scary. Okay, so now you've got some information to take notes. Write down some notes on activity page 5.2, and we'll pause. Let's read the next paragraph. It says, okay, let's take a break now from pretending to be a Roman legionary. It is actually a bit frightening to imagine what happened in battle. Hannibal, the Carthaginian general, really did cross the frozen Italian Alps with a huge army. And he really did bring monsters. Well, the Romans thought they were monsters, but do you see what they actually were? Yeah, we saw it. Elephants. The Romans had never seen elephants before. Elephants are not only very big and very strong, they are also very smart. The Carthaginians used that size, strength, and intelligence to their advantage in war. Okay, so let's think about this. Hannibal the general brought thousands of men and elephants to fight the Romans in Italy. Now, today we watch movies and things, and see lots of different kinds of animals. I would imagine the Romans would have been terrified to see elephants for the first time, especially if the elephants were being used in war. Go ahead and write down a note on your page, and then we'll continue on with the read aloud. Okay, let's keep going. One of the reasons that Romans had been able to One of the reasons that Romans had been able to expand so quickly through Italy and beyond was because they were excellent fighters. Roman soldiers were highly disciplined, meaning that they obeyed orders and were more determined to win for Rome than to survive. Ooh. The main part of the Roman army consisted of heavily armored soldiers. They were the foot soldiers, or infantry. That's a funny word. Infantry, I used to think of the root word was infant, but it has to do with being a foot soldier. The infantry was supported by the cavalry, soldiers on horseback, like the ones in the image. Oh, there they are. Infantry, cavalry, general. They marched shoulder to shoulder toward the enemy and won because they stayed together instead of panicking and running away. Okay, so let's see. The Romans are excellent fighters because they're disciplined. I wonder who's going to win. Hannibal with all of his elephants, or the Roman soldiers who are known for being very disciplined. Okay. Take a note here. And now let's move on. At least they didn't usually run away scared, but that's exactly what they did the first time they encountered Hannibal and his war elephants. Oh no. The Roman legions were terrified by the elephants. In addition to the thousands of soldiers Hannibal had marched through the mountains, the Roman cavalry was no match for Hannibal's elephants, which stomped and trampled everything in sight. Oh gosh. In fact, the horses were too smart to even try to attack the elephants, no matter what the soldiers did. Oh my gosh, so the elephants stomped on the Roman soldiers, and the horses ran away because they were scared. Okay, go ahead and take a note for page 39. All right, let's continue. At first, it seemed as though Hannibal would have no problem marching his army and elephants all the way to Rome. Unfortunately for Hannibal, the Romans were clever. Remember, clever means smart. Instead of trying to defeat Hannibal's army in an open battle all at once, the Romans harassed or repeatedly attacked them in small groups, escaping before the rest of the Carthaginians knew what was happening. Oh, so their small groups of Romans are coming up and not defeating them, but maybe hurting the elephants a little or hurting a few of the men a little bit at a time, rather than having one big battle with them again. Well, that was clever. All right. So now let's go on to this next paragraph, which looks like it's going to flow to the next page. Hannibal had hoped to crush the Roman army in an attack on northern Rome in one easy battle. But instead, he found himself roaming around the Italian countryside, trying to find enough food to feed thousands of hungry soldiers and a couple dozen elephants. Whoa. Believe it or not, this went on for nearly 16 years. Oh my gosh. Toward the end of this war, the Romans put together another army and set sail for Carthage to fight the Third Punic War. When Hannibal heard the news that some of the Romans were headed to Carthage, he was forced to hurry home. Instead of destroying Rome, he ended up racing home to try to defend Carthage from the Romans. Okay, so main idea there, Hannibal had to find food for all of his men and the elephants, and so he wasn't able to keep fighting. And while that happened, the Romans sailed in their boats to Carthage. Oh my goodness. I don't think this is going to end well. Go ahead and take a note before we read the last paragraph. Okay. During these 3 Punic Wars, which lasted more than 100 years, Rome and Carthage fought for ultimate control of the Mediterranean Sea and all the lands surrounding it. The Punic Wars did not turn out well for the Carthaginians. Eventually, the Romans sacked Carthage, meaning they took everything of value and destroyed the rest. They also took many Carthaginians as slaves. As a result of winning the Punic Wars, Rome gained control of nearly every bit of land around the Mediterranean. This was the beginning of one of the most powerful empires in all of history. Well, so final note. 3 Punic Wars lasted more than 100 years. Rome won, and then they had control of every bit of land around the Mediterranean. Wow. Okay, boys and girls, when you are done with this listening and speaking activity, I'd like you to show me your notes so I can make sure that they're complete, and then it'll be time to do something else. Bye.